So I would start by, if this were normal talk, by showing some graphs of how the cost per megabyte has risen in the last decade. If you see, this is a graphic with inflation adjusted of really like when you price games at a certain price point compared to their size. This is megabytes per dollar. It's been rising. This is a linear graphic. If you have an exponential graphic, you can see that it's clearly exponential. Actually, the technology has been cheaper and cheaper. So this would be the normal talk. I would show you this. I would show you also that it doesn't make a lot of sense if you, again, adjust to inflation and you have an exponential graphic that the rising cost of development and the price per megabyte has been declining, but the cost is always the same, so you're actually losing money. So games as a service is inevitable. It makes a lot of sense, like the analytics show that. Actually, like this was actually taken from some years back. There was a prediction that games with stories would become more and more absent from the market, systemic games because they recycle a lot of content, and so on and so forth. And those slides are really boring, right? This is really, really boring. This is me. And you, and when I say you, I don't mean anyone specifically here, I mean everyone, but also someone specific. You would be here looking at me, showing graphs, and like you would be essentially bored. It's not uncommon, like people get down to like specifics of games as a service and analytics and curves and whatever. And I would like go with this rhetoric that you need money to make games, so games equals money, and so the more money you have, the more games you're making and whatever. And like you, and again, this is you, someone here, you're a bit lost. You're a bit confused, but you're also angry. You see, you've been making, or attempting to make a game for quite some time. And here you are. Like, it's not been really productive so far. And you're here, and you want to get this knowledge, actually. I want to tell a story. I want to make a game about something. And here I am. And here am I with graphs and whatever. And here's another. And you're just, what is this? Why am I here? Like, you get angry again and you get up. And actually, you're not the only one. And you get up and you leave. And as you're leaving, something comes up. You remember a rainy night. And this day, this night actually, this moment where you were playing in an attic. Actually, you weren't playing, you were looking at a window. And I'm going to tell you a story, because this is a talk about stories. You were looking at the window and you were observing the rain. And you were a child. And at this moment, this specific moment, you realize something. And talking about it so lightly makes it seem a bit like we're joking, but it's not a joking matter, right? Like you understand something, and children sometimes, they take some time to process things. And you were in your uncle's attic, and you remember, I haven't seen my mother for quite some time. You've lost your mother. I'm not going to go into details. Maybe she left you, maybe she died. But suddenly everything becomes really clear. You haven't processed that. This is why actually you're living at your uncle's, right? You're never going to see your mother again. And now we're going to play a game. one of you is going to pick a number from 1 to 4. You, for instance. 2. And I want a number, either 1 or 2. Someone. 1. So you said 2, 1, music. So let's get back to that attic. You have this epiphany. You've been playing music since you were even younger, and you're really good at it. And you're actually a gamer. You love playing Sonic the Hedgehog. And here's another one. This time, 1 to 4, 1 to 4. Someone, 1 to 4.
4 and 3.
4 and 3, good. So 4 and 3. Actually, I miscalculated, but good that you didn't say 4 again. The unicorn. So you have this idea. You're playing Sonic. You're a musician. Let's make a game. I want to make a game. I want to make, and again, you're a musician. You start making music for that game. And you're going to call it The Myth of Mama Unicorn. It's going to be incredible. It's like Sonic, but with a unicorn. And it's sort of the story, you're a gamer, you've played Mario as well. It's this young unicorn, and he's traveling the world, but instead of trying to reach a princess, he wants to find his mother, right? And it's so, again, so simple and so innocent that, of course, you're having this idea, of course, that you have to express this way. Of course, that it's not really deep, but Mama Unicorn, let's do that. And you start making the music and whatever, and time goes on. Actually, this game has cutscenes as well. I have to remember. And as you go on, you don't become a game designer or a game musician. You become a musician, a DJ or something like that. And like life has been sort of normal. Like you like games, but games weren't really a thing until suddenly, for some reason, you go back to your uncle's attic and you see in a box this sheet of music, actually on the computer as well, of this early creation of this huge game, this game that was so great at the end. And again, like, of course, a child cannot make proper music, right? Like, but still, you can see in that music that it was pure. There was a story there. You never done, even though it's really rubbish now, you never done anything like it. You never done something that you were as proud and something that resonated as much as with you. And so, you decided, I'm going to make this game. I'm going to quit my job. Let's do this. I'm going to make the myth of Mama of Mama Unicorn. Here's a cutscene. Before that, how would you proceed in making that game? And this is, again, addressed to you. Can someone give me, like, if you were to make this game and you're only a musician, would you hire people? Would you learn to program? What's your opinion? Actually, you, yeah. What's your opinion? Yeah. How would you go about making a game? You're just a musician.
Being just a musician?
Yeah, being just a musician. You want to make that game.
Try and find out people who know programming and arts, maybe.
Okay, so you would recruit one artist and one programmer?
Yeah.
Okay, so, and would you pay them revenue share? Like, would you hire people online? Like, how would you actually do that?
Maybe a revenue share?
Revenue share. Okay, so we're playing. And again, this is why the talk is so hard, because it takes a lot of improvisation. Actually, the cutscene that you've unlocked, because again, this is a game, and games need cutscenes to tell stories. Midway in the development, you start having this idea of doing Dungeons and Dragons sessions, right? And in this campaign that you're running, something really weird happens. You're playing, and you've been running this campaign for 6 months. you're really, really, really at the end of the campaign. You're about to kill the unicorn. And you roll the dice. Here's the perfect story. Like, this is the climax of the story. This is the one moment we've been waiting. We're gonna kill the magical unicorn. It's boss level. We roll, everybody dies. Well, that was something. And again, something bothers you. Like, why? That's not a story, right? Like, we're playing a narrative game, but how? Can we just undo this and actually kill the unicorn? And the game master tells you no. Like that makes no sense. If there were no stakes, like the only reason it's enjoyable, the only reason the story makes sense is because there's the risk of you all dying, and you're like, yeah, but then it's not a story, right? Like what is this actually? Like, makes no sense. And so we end this cutscene. Your business failed. Revenue share is actually not a good idea sometimes. Sometimes when you do rev share, people will not compromise, even more in the case of you having this specific story that you want to tell. And like, if everybody is the owner of the project, then you cannot really negotiate that you want the story in specific, like this specific way, right? It needs to be told the proper way. And actually, like, as you are a musician, having programmers that don't really understand music and having artists that don't really understand music, like, they don't really understand the origin, like the flow of the project. And like, every good story is told with music. Like, if you look at a Pixar movie, it's all about music, right? Like, you take a Pixar movie and you take off the sound and it doesn't make you cry. People always say, yeah, the visuals and the story. It's not the story. It's those strings. Like all good media has proper sound. And you know exactly how you want to tell the story, but doesn't end up going well and you fail. We're going to play this game 3 times. You lost once. Let's do it again. So you're at the attic and you're looking at the window. You understand that you're never going to see your mother again. And pick a number. 2? 2 and 3. No, 3 is not like you have. Okay, let's do 2 and 1. Or 2 and 2. 2 and 2? Yeah. So you're an animator. You've been doing animations in your flipbook since you were a kid. By the way, this is actually the reason you're here, right? When you left, the reason why you were so irritated and so lost was that, like, the myth of Mama Unicorn didn't work out. You were here and you left because you want answers on how to tell a story. And again, this is another project that ends up with you being here. And this project this time is going to be the myth of, no, pick a animal, whatever. Let's drop the numbers. Elephant. The myth of Mama Elephant. Good. So again, you try, and you're this animator, and you've animated this flipbook, and you have all this sort of concept of animation of this story, which is a little elephant that wants to get back to his mother elephant, right? And it's this powerful story because all good stories, really, are about animation. If you look at a Pixar movie, it's all about the animation, right? Like, a good story is actually not about the frame, but about how the thing moves, right? It's all about the energy, the behavior. And you know how you're going to tell that story. Again, you went to a VFX company or something like that, and you're at the attic again, and as an adult, you look at the flipbook and you're like, I'm going to make this game. I'm going to make the myth of Mama Elephant. Let's roll. Again, how do you proceed with that? You're just an animator. Do you hire people? Revenue share? What? Game maker. Alone? Solo? Okay. Okay, so it was, 1 second, it's a bit hard. The desert. So, as an animator, you have this idea of a story flow, right? And there's this part in which the baby elephant needs to run into a desert. And it's really important that it's in the middle, right? It's like this thing, and there's no much gameplay. There's actually a puzzle at the end, and this action section. As you test it, it doesn't really make sense from a gameplay standpoint. Actually, not only that, like there's a lot of mechanics that, like in your project, since you're doing it alone, that don't really go well. So you kind of cut and take this level and put it in the beginning because it's actually easier. But then the story doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Like the section of the desert it should be as a tutorial, but like it should be in the middle because then the flow of the story doesn't make a lot of sense. And like this, how are you gonna put together a story if you have to make gameplay around it? Like, it's so frustrating, right? End of the cutscene, right? So, again, solo developer. Solo developers, I don't really need to try a lot to conjure up a reason why the project fails. It's really, really hard to do a game by your own. Actually, not only do you have to code, you actually have to make the art, you have to make the sound. An animator by himself is really, really hard. You sink into depression, it doesn't work out, you end up here. And I'm showing you slides about megabytes and whatever, and analytics. You get up, you go outside. As you go outside, let's make a small intermission. You speak with one of the people who also left. And you're like, man, this talk, what was that talk, right? Which is something that might be crossing your mind right now, but like it was a different context because I was showing all these slides, and yeah, like I really want to tell this story about, and now I think it was the elephant, right? It's like about this elephant, and like and this person that's talking to you outside, it's like, yeah, like I have this, and you make sort of an elevator pitch. The person doesn't get it, get a bit frustrated. We're gonna go back to that scene. But so let's play another time. Let's play again. Sorry, I think I jumped a lot of slides actually. So, another one. This is the last one. We're gonna fail again, right? So, the dice. So you're a game designer this time, and dragon. The myth of Mama Dragon. So you know how this story goes, right? Like it becomes really repetitive. So at some point, you unlock the cutscene. I think it's of the Twitter, which is. Do you remember when there was this Twitter thread of people sharing secrets of game design? Like it was really it was huge. It was. At some point, I think a designer of BioShock just started saying, yeah, like the first shot of the enemies, when you encounter them, they never hit you. And then people were like, whoa, really? Like, whoa. And there's another one, like the health bar, like the last 30% are actually, extended. Like the last 10% are actually 30%. It's to give you an illusion of actually a higher difficulty. So, again, you're a really angry person, right? Like you get angry really, really easily. You're actually this wounded child that just wants to make a game about dragons, right? And you get angry because there's this one game that there was this story of an emergent story of there was this enemy and you got to the ground and you were really, really about to die. But then, because of your skill, like you got up and you shot them, and it was so beautiful. But then, like if that's true, if really like those mechanics are fake, or if it's an illusion, that story really doesn't make sense, right? Like you've been robbed of that story. Like it was sort of all of you in your head. So really, they took away that memory. They actually ruined that story. So, this talk has been sort of this game, you failed 3 times, you lost, right? You're again here, and again I'm showing those slides, and again you go up, and you leave, and you go and you talk, and you're like pitching, you're like saying, yeah, I want to make this game. It's like this Mario, but it's with this dragon, and like the little dragon has to find the mother dragon, and it's not, again, it's not working out, and you say again, like, yeah, animation, or I don't know, like music. Music is all there is to it. Game design, like you have to tell the story from the mechanics, and the person is like, yeah, but the thing is, your whole approach to like games don't have a story, right? And bombshell. What? Games don't have a story? Like, what do you mean? Of course games have a story. That's the only point. That's the only reason you're here. That's the only reason you try. That's the only, like you really, again, you're angry. You're very angry all the time. And what do you mean? So, like, man, to be honest, this is the last cutscene, by the way. You're seeing this as a maestro, and you are the maestro, and the player is the musician, right? So you are the maestro. You actually tell people how to play. That's your job, right? Like this music, and you put all the notes together, and you say, like, now go faster, now go slower. Actually, when you are making a game, you're the composer, right? Like, you're not the maestro. People might play your music wherever they go and have different interpretations of it. They can do whatever they want with it. In a way, you're just setting out the blueprint. And so, like, you're not actually making music when you are a composer. And you stare blankly. So this could be a story, right? Like, it could be this person that wanted to do this, or this person that wanted to do that. It could be a good musician, it could be a good game designer. The person actually tells you that. Like, you told me that music is the proper way to tell a story, but that you happen to be a musician, right? You could be an animator, for all I care. You could be a game designer, you could be a 3D artist, you could be all these persons, but you would still be here, right? Like, that's not how you tell a story. A story actually has a middle, a beginning, and an end. And a game is not actually about what happens, it's about all the things that could have happened. And the cutscene ends. And thank you. This is the end of the talk.